We are always evaluating our methods and practices, taking advantage of new learning, advanced technology, and proven results to understand what works, what doesn't, and what can be better. That's why you find pork producers from one border of the state to the other using solar and wind energy or installing field buffers and bioreactors. To learn more, go to iowapork.org.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 18.5 at 515.5. December down 11.5 cents at 522.75. March corn down 11 at 531.75. May down 10.5 at 537.25. September beans down 21 cents at 1277.75. November down 14.75 at 1277.75. January down 13.25 at 1287. March down 11 at 1294.25. Soybean meal down $2.70 a ton at $343.70. Chicago wheat down 5 3/4 at $7.01. October live cattle up 67 cents at $127.57. December up 12 at $133.60. September feeder cattle down 7 at $162.98. October up 30 at $168.05. October lean hogs up 135 at $90.15. December up 52 at $82.47. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Michael Devine in the afternoon on AM 1400 KVFT. Call now. 515-955-1400.
Well, that's pretty jazzy. 955-1400. Look out. That's right. If you want to call the show, that's the number 2 call. Greg Horrow, the Pork Producers, is here. We are in the Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters studio at 612 South 32nd. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters is at 612 South 32nd Street. Please contact Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters by calling 576-6481. And, of course, this hour, when Mr. Greg is here, brought to you by the Webster County Pork Producers. Greg is past president of the Iowa Pork Producers, and you're still the president of the Webster County Pork Producers, mainly because it's always your turn to barrel, right?
Nobody else will take the job.
Nobody else will take the job. Hey,
I've even offered money.
Oh, come on, man.
Out of my pocket. So.
No. You love this. You love being a pork producer.
We just got a phone call yesterday for another organization in town to do some grilling.
Oh,
and of course, whenever I have that phone call, I like to listen. And we're coming upon harvest here in 3 weeks or so, maybe 4 weeks, because we've got some rain now. But
end of September, you think?
Yeah. I think there's some beans. Some farmers that planted beans in early to mid-April before we normally would plant beans, but the soils were dry back in early April. We waited to plant corn because it was 19th, 20th, 21st of April. There was really cold nights, got down in the low 20s. And so some of those farmers planted early season beans early so they could get harvesting here by the 15th, 20th of September. Now, I won't quite be ready by the 20th or 25th. But anyway, that's that time of the year, and we've had the rains here the last 3 weeks. And what's going to end up happening, Mike, and I think your listeners and the listening counties around here, when this year is said and done, we'll probably have normal rainfall amount.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, look how much we've had in the last 2 weeks.
We've had quite a bit,
yeah.
Has that really helped, or did you need more in July? August is usually the month farmers tell me they need a lot of rain. But we were real dry in July.
Yeah, we were dry, and actually, I have between a couple sets of hog barns that we mowed back there in July a couple times. It's still dead brown. Probably killed it off.
Yeah, probably did.
So you know what grows? Just the weeds.
Just the weeds.
Not the good grass.
That's right.
But no, to answer your question, most farmers would say, or agronomy people, the corn crop is made in the month of July. So yes, we need rain for that corn crop to come to full yield opportunity.
Right.
And beans are made in the month of August.
Okay.
And so to answer your question, yes, we've had some decent rains here the last 10 days of August. So if you have full green beans out there now, it'll probably help add to the size of bean, which may add 2 or 3 bushel per acre. But if the beans were turning, they're going through their natural maturity process and probably not going to help that much. But,
sure.
It's what we as farmers deal with. A lot of us had wind a year ago that blew down a lot of corn in this Webster County and surrounding areas.
Did it really?
Yeah, and not the derecho wind that happened in August. Yeah. This was July wind. Actually, it was on July 10th last year. It was a Saturday night. Happened bad. But anyway, we'll go out there and we're going to have a better. And I think in most instances we'll have a better harvesting crop year this year than we did last year for corn and soybean production.
That's good to know. And I'm still, of course, my son.
Oh, yes.
You've known Luke since he was little, and he lives in Lynn County in the Cedar Rapids area now. And I'm just staggered still to think about it. That the damage that derecho did in that area was unbelievable. The crops were flat. I don't mean bent over; they were flat on the ground. And these were mature crops.
Yes,
too.
I was through that day, or I was through that area that day.
Were you?
Yes, I was, and obviously still know a lot of farmers across that wide section from west, Highway 71, Carroll, Grand Junction area, all the way over through Cedar Rapids and east. But anyway, hey, I do want to acknowledge, and I know Jesse Green was on the segment before, and he
bright young man.
Yes, Senator Green. He's showing very well for representing a large district, as he spoke about a little bit.
He does have a big one.
Yeah, it's a large geographic area, which a lot of those senatorial districts tend to be that way. Tim Kreinbrink is the same way. He represents, parts of 4 different counties, almost 4 full counties. But anyway, congratulations to you and all those that went on the honor flight.
Yeah, thank you.
And that recognition. I know you're wearing your hat today.
Yes,
I do want to let your listeners know that. I did see some of your Facebook posts, especially the mail that you had received and opened.
What Greg is talking about is and I once again want to thank Ron Newsom and Mel Schroeder and Charlie Walker and all the volunteers who year after year after year have selflessly and without pay taken veterans to Washington, D.C. on the honor flights. And just a wonderful, wonderful thing. But this year they had a wrinkle, at least it was the first year I'd heard about it, that they unbeknownst to us sometimes, they contacted our relatives and had them send in little letters, or in the children's case, little drawings or whatever. So I got mine. It was from my 3 grandchildren. And the one I posted on Facebook was from my 8-year-old daughter, granddaughter, Kennedy, that said, "Grandpa, I love you to the moon and back, and thank you so much for your service and everything you did for us."
Very sweet.
It was sweet, and I was very moved, of course. And,
I believe that you were. And any of those listeners now, like when I heard you and Senator Green talking about it 45 minutes ago, the aspect of anybody like myself that's been to those memorials and those tributes and the statues that are for each of those war recognitions, the Korean War,
Vietnam.
The Vietnam.
World War II monuments, quite a few of them.
Oh my goodness, that is pretty impressive.
Yes.
And then
very impressive. Very impressive.
And then of course, one of my favorites that I have always appreciated the years and the opportunities I've been to DC is the Martin Luther King Memorial. And that memorial has got numerous areas of his famous quotes and sayings. And that is a very moving tribute, not just to Martin Luther King, but to the aspirations of any individual, of looking at how we can become a better people and better individuals.
When I taught broadcasting on Iowa Central, I did for 7 years. I've mentioned this before. I would call up Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech, and I said, "I want you to watch this man and listen to what he does, where the emphasis he puts on words and the passion he brings to this. This is obviously something he feels very deeply. And if you want to give a great speech, you have to speak from the heart." And that was still, to my mind, I've heard a lot of great speeches, but Dr. King's speech moved an entire generation. I really think his speech did. And I don't think I've really heard anything like it since. I've heard some great speakers since. Ronald Reagan was a good speaker. Bill Clinton was a great speaker. But even in Barack Obama as well. But they didn't hold a candle to Martin Luther.
No, that's exactly right. But anyway, congratulations to all those that, Ron, Mel, Charlie, all those that put that together. I've known all those people for a lot of years also. Think the world of their efforts, because I know they do it very selflessly. And I'm sure that there's memories that you and others have internally that you just almost cannot put into words.
You might know this. How many pigs are there in Webster County?
Boy, That's a switch right there, isn't it?
Yeah. I wanted to, and I appreciate your comments, and I could talk about it all day, but I know you're here with pork producers. So sorry for the jarring juxtaposition.
Yeah, you sure did. You hit me up with the State Fair first. Hey, you did do a nice job at State Fair.
I had a great time.
Oh boy, did you have some good interviews also? And I know, as I shared with you and your listeners a month ago, I was not able to go this year, but I sure did enjoy listening to some of the interviews you had. Actually received some emails or text messages from people that were on the air with you. So, and I was really glad you were able to find and visit with Zippy Duvall.
Great. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I got to go back. Mr. Gorley from Hamilton County.
Gene Gorley.
Yeah. He was impressive as well. He's a classic Iowa farmer. He just very plain spoken and friendly. But he had a lot to say. He could talk to people who were not in the pork producer business and explain it to them pretty well.
Yep. Well, his family business over there, south of Webster City, they've got quite a little diversity with their pig business. A lot of growers that they work with. But Gene had been Iowa Pork Producer President about 7 or 8 years ago. And the interesting part about the diversity of pig farmers is the niches that we all become part of. And Gene, for his part, and the organization that he works with, does a lot of research. Feed research, ingredient research, not just nutrition aspects, but genetics also. And this is one aspect of agriculture, not just pig farming, but all of agriculture, how science, technology, and innovation and research dollars make us not only more efficient in production, but hopefully more efficient in cost. And that's something that in today's agriculture that we continue to take pride in. Farm organizations, not just like the pork producers, but other organizations, put in hundreds of thousands of dollars of research that are partnered with universities that also partner with government research dollars and other non-governmental organizations to make things better. And yes, that's why you were probably impressed with Gene Gorley, because there's a lot of those type of people out there that are doing things maybe privately for the companies that they work with or their own farm businesses. But that just goes to show you that ingenuity that we in agriculture have always taken pride in. And a lot of that is also being talked about this week, Mike, because this is the Farm Progress Show week at Decatur, Illinois, which is south central Illinois, south of Peoria area. And so there's a lot of talk right now in media waves, publications regarding the new technologies that agriculture companies are dealing with. And some of those, to your listeners, what's important about that is the fact that it's really having to do with more sustainability and regenerative agriculture.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, and we hear about those as buzzwords and carbon credits and these type of things and say, well, what really makes a difference in that? Well, we saw the evidence of that this week in the newspaper. And I talked with Dennis Klaus with the Growth Alliance recently about the pipeline coming through Webster County. This is a possible pipeline to carry carbon dioxide from ethanol plants. And this is a new futuristic thinking of how we in agriculture are going to help with the CO2 and the carbon dioxide emissions into the air, so we can lower what is commonly known as greenhouse gases, run it through a pipeline instead of putting it into our atmosphere. So those are some innovations that further value-added agriculture with corn ethanol plants and other processing plants are hopefully going to be looking at how that can be justified from an economics perspective, but also from an air quality and a human health perspective.
Greg Hoare is our guest in this part of the program, brought to you by the Webster County Pork Producers. I want to clear something up here. And I don't know how to put this to prevent everyone being grossed out by this. But animals, like humans, pass gas. Is that a real threat to the environment? Because some actually believe it is.
Well, that's a big myth. Here's part of the rationale behind that. So there's been, a joke on that would be, well, you worry about all the gas emissions from a cow. Well, the joke part of it would say, well, why don't we go lock yourselves in a garage with a cow all night? And when you come out the next morning, what are you going to be like? Well, let's go lock yourself in that same garage with a car running all night. And will you come out the next morning? So the fallacy of that, and there's been a lot of studies done on this, is that the CO2 emissions from ruminant animals, which that's a digestive system word, ruminant animals tend to eat grasses and other haylage and foliage and things of that nature. Pigs don't eat that. Pigs don't have a ruminant digestive system. Chickens don't have a ruminant digestive system. That's why they eat corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, millet, sorghum. But they don't eat hay, and they don't give off that type of gas. So the thing in agriculture that we know, if you took all the livestock in the world out of a living being animal and all the CO2 emissions that had to do with the production of that livestock, you would lower the CO2 emissions in the world by about 2.5%. That's if you had every animal in production agriculture off the face of the earth.
Sure.
So 2.5%. Well, what do animals do for us? Well, they feed us.
Yes, they do.
And if anybody sees an ad or a T-shirt or a Facebook post that says, "Did you eat today?" Thank a farmer, because that's where the food all originates from.
Of course it does.
Yeah. So that is a little bit of a myth that we in animal agriculture have to continue to combat. But you did ask me a question, because if any of your listeners heard this about 10 minutes ago, how many pigs are in Webster County? And I have forgotten the actual number. I knew that at one time. But Webster County, where we are located here, is about 48th county in the state for largest number of pig population county.
In the middle of it.
Yeah, we're right in the middle. Okay, and I can't quite remember if it's what that number actually is. But Hamilton County, directly to the east of us, they actually have more pigs than we do in this county. Calhoun County, to the west of us, has more pigs in that county than what we do. And yes, we're all rural counties. Webster County might be, because of the size of Fort Dodge and some outlying communities, may have more people, 44,000 people, I think, are in the counties. Calhoun County is maybe 12,000 people in that county. Pocahontas, maybe 11,000. So that makes a difference sometimes with locations and things of that nature. But, we continue to have changes in modern pig production. And we are all very thankful about this summer, when we've had a lot of hot temperatures outside. You were at the state fair.
Yes.
And it was some hot temperatures down there, but our pigs are raised inside.
Sure.
They're in the shade. They have fans on. They have water misters at certain set points so that the pigs cool down. But that's part of the changes that we deal with agriculture.
Well, I stumbled across a vegetarian the other day, a real live vegetarian.
Yes.
I'm going to try to. I actually bought his Kindle book because it was cheap, and I wanted to see what the lunatic left was having to say about it.
Nice to learn.
Yeah, I have to know what all sides
That's
are saying.
important.
I subscribe to 5 newspapers, and they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's unusual. The fairway. It's not going to advertise the Messenger anymore. Maybe I shouldn't say it's unusual. Newspapers and radio are kind of in trouble. Newspapers worse than radio. But
What's the statement?
Well,
These times are a changing.
the times will continue to change. Yeah, there's just too many production costs over there right now.
Yeah.
And
Well, what's interesting, I think a lot of readers of publications like the Messenger that have ads for grocery stores, their base items don't really change price-wise much from week to week. Being a pig farmer, I always look at what the price of meats are doing, because those are the profit centers for a lot of grocery stores, those perimeters of the grocery stores, the dairy and the bread department, the bakeries department, the meat department, the fruit and vegetable departments, because those are some areas that are affected. And Mike, we have to give a little shout out here because of the Hurricane Ida that has occurred. It has had a big impact on some agriculture areas down in the south part of the country. The Mississippi River has been impacted because of the flow of, the water impact makes a difference, but also all the export products that go out of this country downriver to other countries around the world is going to have an impact. We know that gasoline and diesel, about 1/5 of that production area down there in the south part of the country had some impact to it because of this most recent hurricane. So we as consumers all the way up here, and I know in the farm sector, there's a lot of commodities like fertilizers and those types of products that also come upriver. So not just consumers that are buying groceries, but consumers of other products are also going to have some feel some impact of that.
All right, Greg Hoare is our guest. He is with the Webster County Pork Producers. What a surprise. Webster County Pork Producers are sponsoring this hour. It's 3:29. The news is next, and we're in the Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters studio. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters is at 612 South 32nd Street in Fort Dodge. You may contact Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters by calling 576-6418. Yeah.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
It's 3:30. News next.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Companies. If you thought you missed your chance to refinance and save, think again. Mortgage rates have recently dropped, and Rocket Mortgage can help you save big when you call 8338-ROCKET today. For example, with a $250,000 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, you can get a new low rate under 3%. If your current rate is over 3.75%, you could lower your payment by over $100 a month, saving thousands in interest. But you've got to act now, because no one knows how long these low rates will last. So when you need a simple way to get big savings, Rocket can. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com. That's 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Refinance offers is a rate of 2.99%, 3.21% APR, 70% loan to value ratio for the cost of 1.75 points. $4,375 due at closing. Monthly payment of $1,052.60. Taxes and insurance not included. Payment will be greater. Rates current as of 7/26/21. Conditions apply. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
How do you play Powerball?
I like to be the first person in line when the convenience store opens, which is hard to do if they're open 24/7. But I enter the store on my right foot, take exactly 7 steps to the counter, always 7.
but because you need more than a newspaper.
Email, online, surfing the web, HTML, good buddy.
At AM 1400 KVFD.
I guess you need more than a newspaper. The Messenger is begging, urging their readers to beg Fairway to come back. I guess you need more than a newspaper sometime. Greg Hora is here, by the way, and he's with the Webster County Pork Producers. He's the president of the Webster County Pork Producers. And yeah, we got to find out how many pigs are in Webster County. It's the burning issue of the day. Well, you talk. I'll use my phone and find out here. So, but we always want to talk about pork production and farming in general in the state of Iowa, especially exports, which are very important, especially the pork producers. Are there, since the new administration, have you seen good cooperation with the new administration?
Well, we sure like to think so. Specifically on population numbers, okay? We continue to have overtures from this administration dealing with more regulations. The Trump administration got rid of what Obama had started with the waters of the U.S., which does have impact not only on corn and soybean farmers in this area, but on livestock operations, because livestock barns have a roof on them, and the roof drains water off, and then the water is coming off of that property. So there was some impact on that. Under the Biden administration here, the biggest thing you ask about with exports has to do with the Trade Promotion Authority, or what we call TPA. And TPA normally meant, and agriculture organizations and affiliated organizations with food processing and exporting, we were all together on this, that let the administration and the trade ambassadors negotiate the deals. And then take the deal, be it single country or a multi-nation trade deal, take that to the Congress for approval. Well, that's not been happening as fast with the Biden administration. Matter of fact, they needed to renew the Trade Promotion Authority, and that's not been done yet. And so some of those things we're a little concerned in agriculture organizations that it's not moving along as fast as what we had hoped. And all this does make a difference, because I can think back to 5 or 7 years ago when Iowa Pork was involved with our Iowa Economic Development Authority. We go into Central American countries like Colombia and Panama, Guatemala, and they were small countries of buying pork products. And they would say, well, we'll buy, for example, we're going to buy 100 semi-loads of pork. Well, that's great. People can see 100 semi-loads of pork. Well, in that trade deal, that's what was agreed upon. They would buy that many in 1 year. Well, they didn't buy 100 semi-loads. They bought 150 semi-loads, because once they get a taste for the product and the diversity of the uses and the affordability, then we know in the meats industry, and that can be with pork or beef or poultry or turkey or eggs, broilers, that once they get a taste of that and they see how economical it is, that they buy more. And if they have countries that have good credit, that's really what we like to work with. So yes, those administration activities that Biden administration is doing. Catherine Tai, TIA, I believe it is actually the U.S. trade representative and trade ambassador right now. And she's been very favorable with our ag organizations, meeting with ag organizations, listening to what we want to do to continue. And as we have talked for the last couple of years, talk about worldwide trade, this past year, China bought more pork and more U.S. beef than they ever have. And some of the U.S. beef exports opened up just a couple of years ago because of some previous negotiations and some previous roadblocks that China had with U.S. beef. But so, yeah, we continue to know that in this area of the state of Iowa, where we do grow a lot of pigs, your listeners have heard me say Iowa grows 1/3 of all the pigs in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah, 1/3 of all the pigs in the U.S., followed by North Carolina, who's had a moratorium on building and expanding buildings and hog buildings, that is.
What was the reason for that?
Well, there's a big lawsuit that was going on out there. And it was environmental driven. And I've been fortunate to sit in on meetings, sit in the program, see the plaintiffs, which those are the farmers. I mean, these are North Carolina Southern farmers that they were getting sued by neighbors and really on some really unwarranted merits. But anyway, North Carolina is not expanding their pork production. Actually, it's receding a little bit. Minnesota continues to be number 3 and continues to grow in pork production because they have the same things that we have. They have access to land, corn, soybeans, transportation, the harvest facilities, and so there's continues to be good efforts by a lot of people in order to not only grow more animals but to have more jobs.
What impact, Greg, has Prestige had on local pork producers?
Well, I'll just give you this example. Next time you get somebody from the Growth Alliance in here, and I know you've had a number of those folks that you and I both know and your listeners have heard of. I was just talking with Denny Plautz, the CEO with the Growth Alliance, just recently, okay? He asked me this question: what impact have the prices been to farmers because of the Prestige plant?
Right.
And it was stated early on that it might have a 3% impact on the price of pigs. Well, if you have 3%, that'd be $3 out of $100 value of a pig. So right now, a pig is valued at $200. That's a $6 increase. And that usually comes about because of competition of bidding. Now that has happened, but also it's happened because what we're just talking about, competition of moving pork products overseas. In the United States, we're only going to eat so much pork per person. And we have our campaigns to try to eat more pork, of course, and diversity of pork. But it's the overseas buyers that are going to continue to drive the demand, which increases the price. Okay. So to answer your question, though, what has it seen locally? Well, Prestige, we know, have their own pigs in their own buildings with, I think, about 120 contract growers. Okay. Farmers like me. Now, I don't feed for Prestige, but farmers like me that grow the pigs for them, but they're buying about 40% of their pigs in the open market. And I do know some farmers that have their family's pigs come down here to Prestige. And a lot of them are 100, 200 miles away.
Sure.
They're bringing pigs in. Makes a difference. But as I mentioned, Dennis Plautz, he also asked me this question. It leads into the impact of Prestige in this area. And you and I have been talking about this for probably 8 years, ever since they kind of started floating this idea. Jerry Knoll leading the effort with that Prestige plant. So Dennis asked me the question: where do you think the top 3 cities are in this area that provide labor to the Prestige plant in Eagle Grove or outside of Eagle Grove?
I don't know.
Well, Fort Dodge is number 1. Fort Dodge is number 1. Webster City is number 2, which kind of makes sense location-wise, population-wise. And then the third one, I guessed 3 towns, and I was wrong on all of them. Because the third highest population town of providing labor to the Prestige Foods plant outside of Eagle Grove is Waterloo.
I was going. That's surprising.
So it's an hour and 25 minutes from Waterloo to get to the plant. But that is the city that provides the third most number of workers at the Prestige Foods plant.
Boy, they really must be desperate for work over in Waterloo.
Well, there's a lot of those things. And Ernie Goss's study that talked about the pull effect for labor. And of course, in agriculture, you and I've talked a lot before too. And it doesn't really matter what sector you're in. It seems like everybody's looking for more employees, from convenience stores to our public school systems and education systems, agriculture companies, transportation companies, trucking companies, manufacturing, processing. Everybody's looking for more workers. And this past year has kind of turned things upside down. But we continue to have more demand out there for those types of jobs.
That's a stark contrast to recent history. I mean, in the 1980s, maybe that's a long time ago for some of the listeners that we have here today. The 1980s, after the packing plants closed here in town, there were people begging for it.
Yes.
And here we are, 35 years later, whatever it is, and we're looking at this sort of employment situation. So that's really good news. If you're a worker, there's no excuse to not have a job.
Yes. And, the one thing that we talk about, and, this, I really appreciate the opportunity to come in and visit on some agriculture issues to your listeners, is the price of food is relatively staying flat. Yes, we hear about, we hear in the news about food inflation. Well, what's 3% food inflation? Depends on how you buy your groceries. Do you go out to eat? There is food inflation. Don't get me wrong with that. And yes, beef has gone up in price a lot. But consumers are still buying that product. Restaurants are still serving that product, and consumers are willing to pay for it. But we in agriculture pride ourselves in what the value of the grocery cart dollar is on basic food items. And all Americans should feel good about, we as a country, as an industrialized country, compared to others around the world, have the least cost dollar food of any country in the world. And of course, we have to give a lot of shout out to those companies out there and those systems out there that are part of that food chain process, because without efficient food chain process, we would not have those affordable prices.
By the way, I mentioned a vegan who is very active and a published author. His name is Gary Francione, and he has written a number of books about being a vegan. He's Why Veganism Matters is the one that I bought. And there are some reference points to the book, and one of them is called Animal Oppression and Human Violence. That's the way they see things. We're oppressing animals and using violence against them. No, we're eating them. Is that human violence? I mean, we eat them for, and I've gone to his website and brought up some of the things that Bill Horn told me years ago, that the Chinese especially have understood that if you introduce more protein through pork in their children's diet, that their IQ will go up anywhere from 20 to 25%. You can't get that on a rice or vegetable diet. You can't. So I don't know what gets into these people.
Well, and especially meat protein, it's a natural protein.
Yes.
And it's a natural protein for consumption and utilization of nutrition. And I know that's one of the things that all meats organizations and the food institutions that we work with in collaboration for nutrition of children is trying to introduce various meat products in our food nutrition programs. And I think all of your listeners know that this past year and a half with COVID, we've had more food nutrition assistance programs occurring than we've ever had before. And it somewhat underlines and underscores that food deficiency that some sectors of our, not just the economy, but of our citizenry have. Those that are deficient in certain types of meat proteins, for example. And we have a lot of those that the government's involved with, and that private organizations, and be it the Smithfields of the world or the JBS or the Seaboards or the Prestige, they also participate with those food bank programs all across the nation. And they step up, and just look what the Rib Breakfast a couple of weeks ago here in town.
Well attended from what I understand.
And we were proud as Webster County pork producers to help support that effort with money and with pork coupons. But there is Prestige donating almost 2,000 pounds of ribs for those grillers who want to come in and do something that they love doing and be part of the community, and of course have the bands and music and the drinking and all that goes in to a nice social atmosphere in downtown Fort Dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are neat partners to help look at how we're providing protein and partnering with other organizations, much like a lot of organizations do here in Iowa with food banks.
Okay. Greg Horowitz, our guest, as part of the portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Pork Producers. Greg is president of course. Did you say earlier in this broadcast that you and the pork producers are going to appear somewhere else soon for some business to grill some pork burgers and other sort of pork delicacies? Where is that at?
Usually the pork burgers.
Usually the pork burgers.
Yeah.
You want to stay or not?
Oh yeah, I will. So we've had a good season. As your listeners that have maybe followed us over the last couple of years, last year we did 0 grillings because all the community-based activities that go on because of COVID concerns did not host their events. Even across the street here, about 4 weeks ago, the Community Health Center, they had an open house and appreciation to their staff and the people who use their services, and we grilled over there.
Saw you there.
Yeah, that was a good event there. But we have 2 upcoming I'll give a shout out for. Webster County Extension is going to be hosting next week on September 10th, on Friday over the noon hour at their new location down here in the Wells Fargo building, just a couple blocks away.
Yep.
They're going to be having a little appreciation lunch that we're going to be grilling pork burgers at and doing a little promotion there. Really for their event. Those people, we do some collaboration back and forth throughout the year and work with 4-H kids and the 4-H swine programs and help with some of the sponsorship things. So that's important to keep that up. But also, perhaps more importantly, in 2 weeks on September 16th, TJ Pingle and Dr. Jim Meyer are leading an effort with an organization on the Serving Our Servants, the SOS group here in town. You may want to get one of those folks on the air in the next week or two. TJ Pingle, out at Shimcat Motors. And they are just 2 of many people that are working with the event that's at Crawford Snell Park. And they would be able to give you more of the details. I just know we've been asked to grill, and we're going to donate some burgers that night and grill and be part of that thank event, I guess I would say, appreciation event. And I don't know really what their base of their patrons are going to be or reach out to. They would be able to tell you more on that. But those are a couple things before harvest that I think are important, and a lot of good people are involved in those type of organizations.
So you think the rain we've had in August has pushed back harvest for you a couple of weeks?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so, because maturity of crop is going to happen whether you get, the soils are dry, and obviously rain helps green things up. And the corn and soybeans have actually greened back up some. But the soybeans are going through a natural maturity process, and so we're changing the color of leaves, much like fall tree colors do, and that's just a natural process of soybeans. And they'll be harvested in a couple of weeks. There'll be some harvest starting off, and I know the elevators in the area and farmers. This is the time of year we clean out our grain bins and prepare our equipment and our storage facilities for the next year. And thank goodness that we have not only livestock feed in this area with feed mills, but the ethanol plant, because they consume a tremendous amount of bushels of corn on a daily basis. And that's something that everybody gears up for, using up the old crop and preparing to bring the new crop in.
All right, Greg Hoare has been our guest in this portion of the program. Again, brought to you by the Webster County Pork Producers. Thank you so much, Greg. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice.
Ad paid for by CompleteCar.com. This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle.
consistent sales growth, and most importantly, are passionate about helping our businesses grow. Apply today at alphamediausa.com/career. Women and minorities are encouraged to apply. Alpha Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Michael Devine, Nevin Mulholland, and Randy Kuhlman talking sports at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right, and I'll let you know that myself and the distinguished Doctor of Letters, Kevin Bruns, were fighting the valiant fight at the Webster County Courthouse yesterday. Nevin, I know you were in support. I'm surprised you weren't there side by side with us as we fight off the supervisors.
Thank God. Supervisors had more sense than to listen to you two. Other than Keith, I see. Your boy Keith. Yeah, man. Yeah.
It was obviously a partisan vote for Democrats, one for only over Republicans.
I think you're.
Oh, he's definitely right.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, what are you guys doing?
Nothing. Just hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. Andy, what do you got?
Just hanging out myself. Not sure what I'm going to be doing.
I think I'm going over to my services. As you guys know, I'm pretty good at it. So, yeah, we're. Once again.
Oh, I could say something, but I
know it. We just can't.
Something about pharmaceuticals.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind it. Mass quantities. On the drugs. And by the way, you guys know.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
we can't be.
That's kind of what I think. Yeah. How did we get this old? By the way, we're on StreamYard. Well, Nevin doesn't.
Oh, you two are.
Yeah. Why
Nevin's got to slide over.
Well, now it's just him.
There we go. That's how it works.
Actually, I don't know how
Exactly half of him. See,
All right.
There you
Okay.
are all by yourself. All right. So we've been talking sports, of course, and you may join us by calling 955-1400, 955-1400. If you have a question or comment about the sports situation.
Mike, I gotta, I don't know if you guys follow this, but the NFL made their cut this week.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine who's a Hawkeye fan sent me this list, and it's interesting. Nate Stanley got cut.
Nate?
He got by the Vikings. Parker Hesse, you remember Parker Hesse, a defensive end at Iowa? He's still active with the Atlanta Falcons, although they put him on their COVID list. They didn't waive him or cut him.
Okay.
CJ Beathard, we talked about him back up. This guy wasn't a Hawkeye. I wish he was. Ross Piersbacher from Cedar Falls that went to Alabama. He was a 5-star recruit out of Cedar Falls. Was a 4-year starter at Alabama as a center and then as a guard. And I was just shocked. He got waived by the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought he was a sure pro. Carl Davis, defensive lineman from Iowa. He's with New England. Sean Byer, the tight end from Iowa, that should have played at Iowa. Remember Sean Byer last year? He got cut by Denver. Jack Heflin, the defensive tackle at Iowa that transferred in from Northern Illinois, he made the Packers roster. Corey Cronk, the offensive tackle for Iowa, got cut by Green Bay. How about this one? Kai Sargent, a backup running back at Iowa, he made the roster for Tennessee Titans. I heard he was having a pretty good game. Yeah. And Amir Marset is stuck with the Vikings. They're going to use him a lot as their return guy. He was impressive in the preseason with that. Brandon Smith, wide receiver in Iowa, got cut by Dallas or waived. Cole Banwart, the lineman from Iowa, actually from Algona.
Cole Banwart is.
He got cut by Tennessee. Alaric Jackson stuck with the Rams. He was a tackle at Iowa. Chauncey Golston stuck with Dallas. Nick Neiman, linebacker at Iowa, is a backup, made the roster and backup linebacker for the Chargers. Davion Nixon is stuck with the Carolina Panthers. And Jake Gervas, remember Jake, he was a safety at Iowa. He got cut by the Rams. And the only three that I could find about Iowa State was Willie Harper, was a linebacker at Iowa State. He got cut by Cleveland. Hakeem Butler, this was a shock. He was one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12.
Hakeem got cut senior year.
He's had some injuries. He got cut by Philadelphia. And Jaquan Bailey, who was an all Big 12 defensive end for Iowa State, got cut by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
So, and there may be a few other clones that that my buddy didn't follow. But a lot of Hawkeyes, geez, they made it. Even ones that I didn't think might.
I'm going to go into the vault here again. You guys probably remember a great Iowa State defensive back by the name of Luther Blue. He played
a wide receiver.
Yeah, he played Yeah, it was a good name.
He had him in the wrong position. Yeah. I remember Luther Blue in the late 70s very well. Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver.
Are you sure you didn't play both sides?
I'm positive.
All right.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Yeah.
All right. I almost thought about using that for a radio name. Luther Blue in the nighttime.
That'd be great. That'd be a good one. That's a good radio name.
Sounds like it's
a
blues guy. Yeah.
Luther Blue. Actually, one of my first jobs in radio was I had a 2-night-a-week jazz show, live jazz show, over at KTPR here in town, the National Public Radio. And they had actually a full staff of people at the time, and I'd always be on the air at night going, Michael Devine in the nighttime and my kind of jazz. You know, I'd get calls from Ames and all over the place. But I always thought to myself, I'm some kid from Algona, Iowa. I know jack about jazz, but I'm Michael Devine in the nighttime.
Well, some things haven't changed. You don't know jack about anything.
I know,
you get away with it.
I'll give you that. Wikipedia is a wonderful thing.
Like I've always said, too much knowledge ruins a guy's confidence.
That's exactly right. I have to
And you're the most confident guy we know.
I know. Nobody's more confident.
I really do think I can do everything. But I found out a couple times there are some things I may be well in second place on.
No, Mike, don't ever go there.
I am sorry that the original deal here today was to bring Rob Jones in to say goodbye to him.
Yeah,
and we Rob had to go out of town on some news story in another town. I don't know where he is or what the story is, but he couldn't make it today. He planned on it right up till noon today or later in the afternoon. I don't know. But we do want to say goodbye to our friend Rob Jones, who's I don't think all three of us have as much sports knowledge as that guy does.
Or energy.
And he's half our age, you know.
Well,
maybe that's
his memory. I mean, I know the three of us don't have the combined don't have the memory.
No.
Wow.
You can sit there and name off the NCAA basketball champion and their opponent 10 straight years. You kind of know.
Yeah.
You just off the top of your head, you know you've got some.
But you know, he's good. He's knowledgeable, and he's such a hard worker. I'm really happy for him that he sounds like he's gotten a new gig and back in his home state area in South Carolina. It's going to be hopefully really turn out well for him.
He's very passionate guy.
Yes,
and I'm hoping it'll be fun to see how he does because he's so passionate about sports broadcasting.
Yeah. At any level. I mean, he gets fired up just doing the girls softball tournament. You know, I mean, it's just really passionate.
He gave his notice more than a week ago. I drove by here Sunday. His car was out.
Yeah.
He knows he's going, and he's still working.
Well, Friday's his last day, right?
Yeah, Friday.
But he's still doing the foot. Isn't he still doing the football?
Saturday morning show.
Is he? Is that
He's going to leave Sunday. That's what Not me, man. I don't.
Well, we wish him the best.
Yeah, we do. Good luck, Rob.
Absolutely. Anyway, Nevin Mulholland, here we're talking sports. If you'd like to join us, it's 955-1400. How are the Hawkeyes as far as football is concerned?
Well, I'll tell you, they're getting a lot of kudos from the so-called, sports experts or prognosticators. I've got my concerns because I just don't know how good their offense and defensive line is going to be. I think they're good everywhere else. And, I'm a little concerned about the wide receivers. I just they've got some young ones, and they're supposed to be talented, but, they got Tracy back and Reganey. I like Reganey, but I'm not sure Tracy or Reganey, either one of them are your number one guy type of receiver.
Well, Reganey's a great possession receiver.
Exactly.
He's a slot guy. I love him in that slot.
Yeah.
I like Tracy. He's smallish.
Yeah.
But the question is, can we stretch the field? Not with Reganey, but with Tracy and these freshmen you talk about. And Jones.
Yeah.
Who also,
it's a great punt returner.
Oh my, is he good punt returner? He's just fabulous hands.
Yeah.
He is.
But I'm a little worried about that. But and we've got a good tight end, and so I don't know. I'm not sure that I've got concerns about the offense. The defense should be pretty salty with, Phil Parker always seems to have put the pieces together with a good defense. But again, that defensive line is going to be really young. And then we open up with two really good teams in Indiana and Iowa State. So I don't know. I'm concerned, but I see Iowa's a 3.5-point favorite over Indiana.
Really?
Yeah. Even though Indiana's ranked 2 spots higher than Iowa. Yeah. And they've got everybody back, including a really good quarterback. So I hope it makes me nervous. But
I was surprised that the Vikings got rid of Nate Stanley, to be honest with you. I mean, they don't have much offense up there, really. I don't know what Stanley was doing wrong. I mean, he was a little bit of a disappointment to me when he was in Iowa. I mean, he came out a number of years ago. He was the quarterback of the University of Iowa, 6'4", 250. We all talked about it. Good arm, cannon. He never seemed to quite get there.
Well, yes, you're right. Although his statistic, he's one of the top Iowa's ever had statistically.
He had his moments.
Yeah, he did.
Just fall apart.
He was really consistent. He had some horrible games up in Wisconsin. I remember that. But yeah, I knew the writing was on the wall for Nate when they drafted this Kelly Mond from Texas A&M as a backup quarterback, and then they brought in Jake Browning also, who was all Big 12, all Pac-12 quarterback from Washington. So he, I think they might even have cut Browning.
They did.
Yeah. So
they did.
So, and as Nevin said this earlier, I mean, Nate didn't get vaccinated, I don't think, and he got.
I don't know. Yeah,
he was in the COVID protocol. And Cousins didn't get vaccinated. He was in that same. They had 3 quarterbacks for a week and a half of team camp weren't available, and Zimmer was not happy about that.
No, they're not a decent enough man happy about it. But there have been 4 radio talk shows in the southeast part of the country, and their whole thing on air was, I'm not getting vaccinated. They've all died.
Oh,
they've all died?
I did not know
that.
One right after
crazy.
One right after another.
Man.
They're all men in their 60s, and why in the world they wouldn't get vaccinated as old people, I don't know.
Jeez.
But yeah, all in the southeast part of the country, all in major markets, and they're all dead now. I mean, within about 6 weeks.
Wow.
That's, I'm going to get vaccinated. As a matter of fact, if they have that COVID testing tomorrow over at community health care, I'm going to go over and get tested again. COVID's nothing.
Right. It's not as real. And we've had a lot of deaths around here.
We have had
too recently from COVID, and the hospital's packed. And I just
tell me you guys are vaccinated.
Oh yeah.
I have no problem talking about it. Yes.
Getting back to the Hawkeyes, I saw one of the AP or somebody came out with the power rankings of Big Ten, and it went Ohio State. Who was second? It wasn't Penn State. Wisconsin was second, I think. And somebody else was third. Iowa was fourth, ahead of Michigan, ahead of everybody. And I can't remember who the third one would have been. I can't remember now. Somebody on the East.
Penn State?
I don't know. Penn State was, I think Penn State was even behind Iowa. I'm not sure who it was. And I'll tell you, they're really thinking Wisconsin has potential to upset Ohio State this year. So evidently, everybody feels Wisconsin's loaded, And I know they got a good quarterback coming back and all that, but so
I think sometimes Iowa gets more credit than they deserve. I mean, I think the media likes the national media for the most part. Set aside college. He does the Mike Devine deal. He likes to provoke conversations. I know it. I really think a lot of that is what he's doing. But the national media tends to really get on the Iowa bandwagon when they have an opportunity to. I hope they're right. I really am nervous about the defensive and offensive lines. That's what and defense more than offense, to be quite frank. Because they're pretty. I like Petrus. I'm looking for big things from him this year.
I hope. I think I do too. I think he'll have a solid year if the offensive line does a good job. Yeah.
Of course, I was the same guy that said Nate Stanley was a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to get it out there. And he was kind of for a while, but the problem with Nate was he's still too heavy footed.
Right.
And in the pro game anymore, you got to really be mobile for the most part. A guy like Roethlisberger gets away with it,
but he's a big, strong guy, and he's got a better offensive line. We don't. Roethlisberger is so big. It's just to see him back there, he's looking over the line. He has that height advantage, and he's got. You can see his receivers very well. He's Whitfield, and he can get rid of the ball fast. He's great. I'm the Roethlisberger.
But he did last year get rid of fast. His history's always been he held the ball long and would take a lot of shots. But they couldn't knock him. But last year he was one of the top in getting the ball out quickly, almost to a fault. But interesting, these young quarterbacks that are coming this year as rookies, boy, they've been impressive. The kid, that Wilson from BYU, who's a starter for the Jets, he looks good. Of course, we talked about the kid from Alabama, Jones at New England, that just is going to be the starter there. And Lance from North Dakota State, he's looked really good in San Francisco.
Talking about kind of playing bowl.
Right. He's had a really good preseason. They're not going to start him, but everybody's predicting that it won't be long before he will be starting. But they're going to be starting Dalton, the red rifle, they call him. Yeah,
the red rifle. Hey, he's a very competent quarterback.
He is. And he's used to.
Trubisky, where's he at?
Trubisky's at Buffalo as a back.
Is he still at Buffalo?
He looked like Aaron Rodgers when they played the Bears last time.
Oh, he's got all of it.
He does.
He really does. He's great feet, strong arm. I guess it was just making decisions.
Yeah.
And he played that mediocre offensive line.
Exactly.
I'm not big on rushing these rookie quarterbacks into the line of fire. I think in a perfect world, you give them a chance to get acclimated, build up their confidence. You can destroy a quarterback.
Right.
By playing them too soon or playing them on a very poor team. And you got to be mentally tough, man.
I think we should have a contest to decide what the new name to be for the Washington Redskins, former Washington Redskins. I'm in favor of the Washington Rednecks. I don't know about you guys.
Well, now you're going to be offending a few people down south. I'm
not down south.
Okay.
I'm losing my man from South Carolina. Anyway.
That's right.
I'm in favor of Washington Rednecks. What do you guys think?
I haven't given a lot. Let me think.
The Washington Hawkeyes.
How about the Warriors? Washington
Warriors. That's a good one.
No, I think that's
still the story, And who let a few people decide what's
I was going to go with the Guardians, but Cleveland beat me to the punch.
That is so cool.
Yeah, the Guardians.
Oh,
God almighty. All right, let's go to the phone.
I got a name for the Washington team.
What is it?
You get rid of the Washington, you call them District of Columbia Swamp Rats.
Thank you, sir.
That's good. Yeah.
I almost didn't take the call. Oh my God, he's going to say something.
That's a good one.
Did you say swamp rat?
Swamp rat.
Well, that's good with Washington.
Yeah.
Washington was a swamp.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I was out there last Saturday, by the way.
How was your trip?
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And the best part of it, I got a card from my 7-year-old granddaughter that says, "We're so proud of you, Grandpa."
Absolutely.
Thank you for everything that you've done for us.
I'll tell you. Ron Newsom and his crew, they do a fantastic job, don't they, with that program?
That's quite a deal.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 4.